Let's talk about the three forever leadership moves. These are the ultimate leadership decisions. These are beyond high impact. And I've learned this over 20 plus years myself in high impact leadership positions. Very fortunate, very honored to lead teams and organizations. And also 2 plus decades of research, studying the world's greatest, most respected, highest impact, most successful leaders across multiple disciplines. So let's jump right in. Here's the three rules. Number one, avoid being stupid. Rule number two, or move number two, just do the one next right thing. And number three, when you learn an incredibly useful idea, execute on it over and over again forever. Now, these three moves, don't procrastinate on it, don't overthink it, just do it. That's it. So let's jump right in. Move number one, avoid being stupid. Okay, it's not just enough to get things right, you must also avoid getting things wrong. Here's a quote from Charlie Munger. I believe Charlie Munger is one of the greatest business leadership thinkers of all time, one of the greatest thinkers, period, of all time. Charlie was an obsessive in terms of biography and performance psychology and studied more disciplines than I can count and took the best practices away from all these disciplines. He was also Warren Buffett's business partner at Berkshire Hathaway. Charlie was a multi-billionaire himself, and I believe one of the wisest people to ever live because he really stood on the shoulders of giants and just studied the greats his whole life and compiled a lot of wisdom. And Charlie says, wisdom is prevention. Okay, so what do we mean by that? He's got a principle of inversion that he talks about. And Charlie says, invert, invert, invert. Turn a situation or problem upside down. Look at it backward. What happens if all our plans go wrong? Where don't we want to go, and how do you get there? Instead of looking for success, make a list of how to fail instead. Through sloth, envy, resentment, self-pity, entitlement, all the mental habits of self-defeat. Avoid these qualities and you will succeed. Tell me where I'm going to go to die so I don't go there. And that's probably the bumper sticker statement of all this. Tell me where I'm going to die so I don't go there. That's avoid stupidity. Avoid being stupid. So here's another quote from Charlie Munger. One way to guarantee failure is if you only learn from your own experience. So you can study the mistakes and failures of others to say, okay, here's where I need to avoid going. Here's what I need to avoid doing. And lastly, here's a quote from Warren Buffett. It is remarkable how much long-term advantage people like us have gotten by trying to be consistently not stupid instead of trying to be very intelligent. So let's take this out of the clouds and into the dirt. Let me give you some examples of things to avoid. If you're a business leader, you've got to identify where are the safety issues that you need to avoid. If you own a restaurant, it's making people sick by having poor food safety practices. If you design cars, design them poorly so they're more accident prone. Apply this to anything. Apply this to your life. How do I avoid heart disease or diabetes, these other things? Well, I've got to exercise. I've got to keep a healthy waistline. I've got to keep my stress levels down. So you want to try your best to avoid the avoidable in terms of your own personal safety and health and also the safety of your organization. Another way to avoid stupidity, avoid being stupid, avoid the wrong things is what Charlie talks about in terms of going for great. Surround yourself with great people, people who have a great positive attitude, who are kind and useful to others, people who give their best effort in life, people who respect money and are frugal, people who, those are the big ones, I would say. Great attitude, great effort and work ethic towards life, kind and useful to others. They practice frugality. These are some really great traits of uh, great people that you want to be around. Also, work for great bosses. Prioritize working for a great boss, working for a great company, partnering up with the right business partner, partnering up with the right life partner. Just go for great in all aspects of your life. There's already enough problems in life. You can avoid it by just putting yourself the best of your ability into great situations as much as you possibly can. And the book recommendation is Poor Charlie's Almanac by Charlie Munger. He talks about this, inversion and going for great. Very simple principle, but just avoid being stupid. That's move number one. Move number two, just do the one next obvious right thing. Just do it. Now, the great ones always do the next one right obvious thing. They don't procrastinate on it, they don't overthink it, they just do it. And what do I mean by this? Well, when I work with a client, there's a next one right obvious thing that they need to do in any situation, whether it's to achieve a goal or to improve their own performance or to solve a problem or challenge. There's one next right obvious thing. And that's not AJ's opinion on what it is. That's based on historical case studies of what people have done successfully to improve the situation. It's based on science and data and expertise, first principles, the right mental models, not AJ's opinion. When we identify what the next right obvious thing is, which most people know what that is, my clients, probably 7 or 8 times out of 10, they just need someone to challenge them and hold them accountable to doing it because they haven't done it for months or even years. So that's where I come in to hold them accountable to that next right obvious thing they need to do. And if you can't do it on your own in 30 days, I learned this from Dr. Alan Weiss and Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, two of my greatest mentors and teachers. If you can't do it on your own in 30 days, you need to ask for help. You need to go get help. You need to get a doctor to help you fix an ailment that's not getting better. You need to get a coach. You need to get a therapist. You need to get a financial advisor. You need to get somebody to help you do it because if you haven't made progress in 30 days, ask for help. Crucial component to great leaders and great personal performance. So you got to be willing to do the next one obvious right thing. And I'm going to challenge my clients to do that. If they won't do that, there's no use working with me or anybody else. If you're not going to do your own push-ups, if you're going to continue to avoid the next right obvious thing, don't ever expect to solve the problem or be successful. And people don't do that for a few reasons. One, they just won't prioritize it. And two, they're afraid. So, if you're not going to prioritize it and you're not going to do it fearlessly, then don't expect to get better. And that's the bottom line. But the great leaders, they do the next right obvious thing. So Charlie Munger says one of the greatest ways to avoid trouble is to keep it simple. So you can avoid trouble by just doing the next right obvious, the one right obvious thing. That's simple. Charlie also says, take a simple idea and take it seriously, which is one of my all-time favorite quotes by him. So take that one thing and take it seriously. Take a simple idea and take it seriously. Do something about it. And here's lastly a tool, mental model principle by a great mentor, friend, and teacher of mine, Dr. Jason Selk, who I believe is the world's greatest expert on performance, mental toughness, winning, happiness. He's just incredible. He's trusted by the best in the world as a coach, as a teacher. And Jason has this tool called Relentless Solution Focus, which is simply defined as within 60 seconds, replacing all negative thoughts with solution-focused thinking. And here's the Relentless Solution Focus billion-dollar question. What is the one thing you can do right now to make this better? That's a billion-dollar question. That sums it up. What is the one thing you can do right now to make this better? So if you're a business leader, that one thing might be prioritizing sales. If you don't sell, you're going to go out of business. You're going to run out of cash. Another thing great leaders do is they promote somebody. If the right thing to do is promote someone and give them a raise, they don't procrastinate on that. They don't let it drag out. They do it because that's the next right obvious thing. Also, it could be terminating someone, letting them go, which is unfortunate, and I never enjoy doing that. I never like to see that happen, but sometimes that's the next right obvious thing for everybody. And that includes ending a personal relationship as well that's just not working for anybody. And you're both miserable and it's not getting better, or the other person doesn't want to get better. You have to end relationships sometimes. That's the next right obvious thing, unfortunately. Another one could be having a difficult conversation, which could be trying to repair a relationship or challenge a team member to get better, or really both those things are probably the most important. Repairing relationships, challenging people to be better. If you're not willing to do the next right obvious thing, that one thing, don't expect things to get better. Another one of the next right obvious thing is asking for help. It's asking for advice from mentors. If you don't know what to do next and you're not getting better after 30 days, ask for help from a mentor, coach, doctor, lawyer, financial advisor, therapist, spiritual teacher, ask for help. So, book recommendation on this one is Relentless Solution Focus by Dr. Jason Selk, absolute Bible of doing the next one right obvious thing. So, lastly, here's move number 3. When you learn an incredibly useful idea, execute on it over and over again forever. When the great leaders learn an incredible idea, they just execute on it over and over again forever. They don't procrastinate on it. They don't overthink it. They just do it. So here's a quote from, it's pretty self-explanatory, that move, but here's a quote from Charlie Munger. I believe in the discipline of mastering the best that other people have figured out. I don't believe in just sitting down and trying to dream it all up yourself. Nobody's that smart. So you've got to study the greats. You've got to learn from the best. And when you get great ideas, you've got to execute on them immediately and then over and over again forever once it's proved out that it was an incredible idea and it works. Here's a quote from Warren Buffett. Choose the right heroes very carefully and then emulate them. You will never be perfect, but you could always be better. So choose the right heroes. Here's another quote from Charlie Munger. Oftentimes the winning system in business goes ridiculously far, maximizing and or minimizing one or a few variables. So don't overcomplicate things, don't overthink things. Just maximize a few of those right things and do them over and over again. Go ridiculously far, as Charlie says. And lastly, this is a quote from Sam Walton, founder of Walmart, who I believe is one of the greatest business leaders of all time. I think a lot of other people do as well. Sam says, most everything I've done, I've copied from someone else, which is the same thing as Charlie said. Study the greats, learn the great ideas, learn the great concepts, and then take action on them relentlessly over and over again forever. So here's some examples if you're a business leader of when I learned these things personally, I didn't overthink it. I didn't spreadsheet it. I didn't have to read 3 more books about it. I just executed on it immediately over and over again forever. So if you're a CEO, business leader, daily sales training for your team. So I heard this quote from the great John Spence, who wrote a great business book called Awesomely Simple. John's a legend. He advises Microsoft and Coca-Cola and McDonald's. John said ranked top 10 business thinkers in the world, along with Jeff Bezos. And I learned from John the stat that daily sales training increases sales by 15% on average. Didn't overthink it. That day forward, did daily sales training 99% of the time forever. And it worked. Okay. So another idea was I learned from a guy named John Spoelstra, who was a mentor to Mark Cuban, who owned the Dallas Mavericks and set the sellout record for games at the Dallas Mavericks. And John Spoelstra was an incredible marketer. And I read a book by him called Marketing Outrageously. It's that you have to market different. Nobody notices normal. You've got to show up different. When I learned the concept of marketing outrageously, I didn't overthink it, just did it over and over again forever. Another one I learned was extra mile customer service. You have to do a little extra. Nobody notices normal. You've got to go above and beyond if you want to generate great word of mouth and repeat business. Another tool, mystery shopping. When I learned about mystery shopping, I did that forever. You've got mystery shoppers coming in and shopping your business. Not just to catch your employees doing things wrong, but also to catch them doing things right and reward them and praise them. But also to make sure you're upholding the highest standards of attitude, effort, and behavior in your organization. So once I learned about mystery shopping, I never stopped doing it. Another great thing I learned was to spend a lot of time on the front lines with your customers and those who are closest to your customers in order to, number 1, listen and learn, and number 2, to uphold the highest standards of excellence and service. So I had a conversation recently with Ed Stack. He is the CEO and owner of Dick's Sporting Goods. And Ed and I are in the mall, and he had just visited a Dick's, and he was about to visit a Foot Locker, which they just purchased. And Ed and I are talking, and I asked him, Ed, what's the number 1 leadership principle that you've learned over decades of very successful business leadership? And he didn't hesitate. He said, listening. You've got to go out and listen to your people. And that's exactly what I had learned 2 decades before that, and I did it relentlessly and religiously. And Ed practices what he preaches clearly, and it's worked. Another thing for CEOs is you've got to identify and complete your top 1 or 2 or 3 most important tasks that get you closer to achieving your most important business goals. When I learned the importance of that, I never stopped doing it. Another one, you've got to study the greats for 15 minutes to 60 minutes a day, at least 5 days a week. If you don't like doing that, you're never going to be successful. You're just not. You've got to learn to study the greats in your field. You have to. No exceptions, no excuses. If you don't want to do that, you're never going to be successful. And that's a simple idea. And that includes reading biographies. All the greats studied the greats. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett, Sam Walton that we talked about, Dr. Jason Selk, they studied the greats. All the greats studied the greats. And biographies are a great way to do that. All the greats sought out the best mentors and teachers. Simple idea. You have to take that seriously. All the greats set deadlines that you both need to live up to. If you're a leader, when you set a deadline, delegate something and set a deadline, it needs to be on both of your calendars that you're going to follow up at that day and time to see if it's completed. Another great idea, 30 minutes of zone 2 cardio or cardio heart rate 130 or above 3 days a week. That's a great health habit for leaders in life. When I learned about that, I just did it religiously and relentlessly, never stopped doing it. Okay, it's a great, great way to improve your mental, physical health and live longer. 10,000 steps a day. When I learned that, the importance of that, I do it pretty much every day. I average 10,000 steps a day, certainly. Great for mental health, physical health, longevity, does all kinds of great things for us. And then lastly, family dinners. I saw an article years ago in Psychology Today, the importance of family dinners. So that is really important for families to do. I'm not married, I don't have a wife and kids, but if I did, I would make sure I did a family dinner every night because that is really important for overall mental health and having a successful, happy family. They cited a bunch of reasons why. So that's a simple idea you can take seriously if you have a family. So that is that's move number 2, and a great book recommendation, or I'm sorry, move number 3, a great book recommendation on this is The Success Principles 20th Anniversary Edition by Jack Canfield. There's a ton of simple moves that you can take very seriously there. When I read it close to 20 years ago myself, it was life-changing. So those are the 3 forever leadership moves. Very simple. Move number 1, avoid being stupid. Move number 2, just do the one next right obvious thing. And move number 3, when you learn an incredibly useful idea, execute on it over and over again forever. So don't procrastinate on these. Don't overthink them. Just do it. And if you found this episode useful, please like and subscribe to the channel, and please share it with one person you believe would also find it useful. I wish you an elevated life of success, happiness, and great positive impact.